you know, whatever it is that was missed. So, getting started officially. Thank you again, everyone, for showing up. It was a last minute invitation, sending it out. And this really was triggered because I've been getting a lot of calls and conversations with a lot of realtors that I work with. We have a friendly relationship. So, most of us were chatting about this whole NAR settlement implications, like how will this really play out? Implications, future hiccups, which especially on the legal side, I see a lot of crazy stuff coming because I feel like this will have so much impact on different classes of buyers and sellers that I've represented over the years. So, and that was kind of why I was having a conversation. And thank you to Makeda, actually, because she was like, why don't you just have a talk about this and, bring everybody together. So again, thank you everyone for coming in. My name, as most of you know, is Attorney Grace Okori. I am a real estate attorney. I've been practicing for about 14 years now as a real estate attorney. I represent buyers and sellers in their transactions. I do residential, commercial, all kinds of real estate deal throughout the state of Illinois, have closings all over the states. And that is what I do. I'm also an immigration attorney, estate planner on the side, but my primary focus of my firm is real estate. So today we just wanted to kind of, have a brief overview of what this NAR settlement means for everyone. And I'm sure everybody has been getting sessions, classes, training, all of that. It's one thing to hear theoretically, but it's also now that the deadline is approaching for this to be implemented, we now want to talk about the practical impacts of what this means in our practice. And I think even for me as a real estate lawyer, this has to be one of the most significant changes that we have seen. I mean, we've seen form changes, we've seen, Zillows and all of these things pop up, but we haven't really seen something this big that literally affects our money, especially on the commission side, which is the bread and butter of real estate agents. So I wanted us to talk about this here, and I will just flow into introducing my first speaker. So the first speaker I have here is Kenya Williams, and Kenya is the managing broker of KRGW Realty. I won't read out the whole introduction because it's going to be 2 pages long if we do that. But the great thing about Kenya is this 2023-2024, I was on the board. I was on the lawyer broker committee with Main Street on that board, and part of the job, and that board is made up of broker owners of brokerages, around the state, and also attorneys, real estate attorneys who are practicing in the state of Illinois. And part of what we do, we met once a month. And what we do is really review, legal stuff, the forms, the legal implications, legal questions that are coming from the realtors, coming from different, just people within the industry, even clients, even, people, buyers and sellers and things like that. And of course, as you all know, with this whole NAR settlements, this cohort, I will call us, to 2023, we had a lot of work done because part of what we had to do was review the forms, release all of these new forms, especially specifically for Main Street. We worked on the forms, what we need to do, how we need to do what we need to do to edit them. When we talked about what we think the legal implications might be, best practice scenarios and things like that. And Kenya was the president of the broker lawyer committee that we had. So she was instrumental and part of that whole process, dissecting the NAR settlements, talking about the implication, going through, how to move forward. And of course, not only from the Main Street, the association standpoint, but also as a managing broker herself. She understands the day-to-day implications of what this rule means for us moving forward, and also how to properly navigate this, this rule and these guidelines so that we are also in compliance with what the settlement states. So yeah, because without further ado, I will just introduce Kenya Williams to take it over. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. Awesome introduction, Grace. So the first thing I want to say is this is not as scary as it seems. For a lot of us, this is business as usual. The most important thing, we will still be able to get paid We will just have different conversations about it, and we'll be using different forms. Other than that, it's still business as usual. So to dispel some of the misinformation that's out there, you know, NAR has facts.realtor. That's a great source. I put some sources in here. Great source for you to get the information from the source instead of the TikToks and the YouTubes and the, you know, social media famous influencers who some have information correct, but some do not. So go straight to the source and get that information. So why are we having this? Why are we in this place right now? We're in this place right now because a lot of brokers were saying their services were free when indeed they were not. Services were never free. Sellers were never paying us. Listing brokerages. It was really about the wording, the terminology, and the transparency. So as we move forward and navigate, the transparency is a lot more open and free. So you'll be able to utilize the forms to see what that looks like. In a minute, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you some of the forms that we created at Main Street that are instrumental. Most of your associations, if you're not with Main Street, most of your associations have created very similar forms, and they did create a lot of forms at the state level, which I also dropped into the chat box, the link to the state forms, which I'll show it to you as well. So some of the questions that we've gotten, I'm going to go over a few of the questions that we've gotten and kind of answer some of these questions, and then I'll show you the forms. So one of the main questions is, why are we experiencing this shift in our business? As I've said, it started from being transparent, but on March the 15th of 2024, NAR announced their proposed settlement agreement, and that would end all the claims against NAR, all of the state, territorial, and local association of realtors, most of the MLSs, and almost all of the members and most of their realtor member brokerages. Now, this is a proposed settlement. It is not fully final. Final is expected in November. So what does that mean? That means they could accept it the way that it is, or they could make changes to the settlement, which again would require us to make additional changes to forms and the way that we do business. But as of now, we have a preliminary approval, and it goes into effect on August the 17th. All right, how are we as realtor members protected? So the main purpose that NAR settled was to protect smaller brokerages and realtor members from being included in future lawsuits. All right, what are the core aspects of the settlement and its required practice changes? One, there was a general release of liability for all realtor members. Offers of compensation will be prohibited from being on the MLS. Written buyer agreements are required. And NAR continues to deny any wrongdoing. So those are the core aspects. Can other brokerages still compensate another brokerage if there's no offer of compensation in the MLS? Absolutely. So at this time, the settlement has preserved the ability for brokerage to compensate each other. So cooperative compensation did not go away. It's just, it looks different, and it's not going to be upfront in the MLS. We'll have to do a little work to find out if and what the cooperative compensation will look like. And just so that I am clear, when I say no cooperative compensation in the MLS, you cannot make mention of it anywhere in anything that syndicates to the MLS. It cannot be attached to any forms or documentation that you upload to the MLS. You cannot put it in the private broker remarks. Okay? And we will have very hefty fines for that. What fields will be removed from the MLS? So in red created on their website all of the fields that will be removed, and I will put that link in there as well. But some of the ones that are removed was the compensation, of course, is removed. The amount of compensation is removed. Disclosure, inconspicuous language will not be allowed. I'm trying to get to my page. All right. Buyer agency compensation type is going to be removed. Buyer agency compensation will be removed. Special compensation information, gone. Closed buyer agency compensation, gone. Closed buyer compensation type is gone, and all other special compensation is gone. So any fields that were in the MLS that reference compensation are going to be removed effective August the 17th. I'm not going to go through all of them because I do want to get to some of the forms. How will these changes be monitored to determine compliance? All of the associations will be monitoring the MLS and our listing postings to make sure that we're compliant. One of the main questions were, can you post it on your social media? Or can you post it on your private website? And the answer is yes. As long as it does not feed into the MLS, you can post it. Right now, the fines that are set for posting compensation in the MLS is $2,500 per occurrence. Okay, so let's get into some of the forms that Main Street created, and similarly other associations, and then I'll tell you when and how to use these forms. So I am going to do a share screen, and I am going to share PowerPoint. Okay, so if everyone can see the screen, so this first form is a transition addendum to the exclusive marketing agreement. Now, what this form does is this form is a transitional addendum to be used if you've used the Main Street exclusive marketing agreement prior to August the 17th. This form will bring your existing marketing agreement into compliance. You don't have to redo your marketing agreement on the 17th unless you want to. So you have both options. You can completely rewrite it, or you can use this addendum. The next form is the addendum as a transition addendum to your buyer representation agreement. So if you have the existing buyer representation agreement and you want to bring that buyer representation agreement to compliance, you would use this transition document, and it will make your existing buyer representation agreement compliant with the August the 17th changes. This next form is the residential exclusive right to sale marketing agreement. So this is the new form. Where you see the highlights, these are the ones where we've made changes. One of the main changes you'll see, handicap was replaced with disability. So that's one of the main changes. Paragraph 2 was modified and clarified to state that the brokerage's designated managing broker and designated agents have exclusive right to share the property in the MLS. It was modified from mental handicap to mental disability in paragraph 2. Paragraph 11. Paragraph 11 was modified to disclose that the designated agent may represent buyers and is also required to enter into representation agreements with those buyers. So just to elaborate on that, the question was to buyers, if they have an exclusive agreement with you as an agent, are you able to have additional exclusive representation agreements with other buyers? The answer is yes. However, your buyer cannot have additional exclusive relationships with any other agent. So that's kind of what this was helping to clarify. All right, paragraph 15 added the required statement from NAR settlement that compensation is not set by law and is fully negotiable. Paragraph 15 changed the term sale price to purchase price so that it's consistent with the multi-board 7.0 contract. It redefines who may be paid upon the closing, adding other brokerage as an option. It defines offer of compensation, which is referred to in subsequent paragraphs within the document. It dictates that any overage in the amount of compensation offered and agreed upon between the buyer and the seller will be deducted from the total compensation. That paragraph is extremely important because, as you know, part of the agreement is we cannot receive compensation greater than what we agreed to in the buyer representation agreement. So if there was an offer of compensation in the listing agreement and the buyer's agent received less than what the seller initially offered, the seller gets that money back. It cannot go to listing brokerage and it cannot go to the selling. It goes back to the seller themselves. Okay. NRED's, the other part, NRED's definition of net and gross on how compensation is calculated is removed. We're removing that because there will no longer be an offer of compensation in the MLS. And paragraph 15 also allows for any agreement between buyer and seller for compensation to be incorporated by reference. That's highlighted number 6.
Kenya,
Yes.
real quick, please. Do you want the questions now as you were presenting, or do you want the questions to be saved for the end?
I would think save for the end.
Okay, all right, because there's some questions in the chat. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll save it for the end. I'm gonna go through most of the forms really fast. I'm only gonna really emphasize the most important forms, which are the marketing agreements and the representation agreements. And then there's 2 other forms that I'll go through, but they're quick, short forms. All right, back to paragraph 17. Paragraph 17 was modified to add direction to the listing brokerage as to how to offer compensation, how the offer of compensation will be communicated. So if you're looking at the screen, I don't know if this little box is in your way. I'm gonna try to move it. It's in my way. How do I minimize this box? Okay, well, those pages, second page. So this says how we will negotiate and how we will pay out the offers of compensation. Paragraph 18 was just giving some clarity that the seller acknowledges reading and understanding the options that are above. Then we have paragraph 27 was modified for clarity again. Paragraph 33 was added as a modification to be consistent with the other forms. Okay. All right, this is exclusive agency. I can't see the top of it. Yeah. Okay. Exclusive residential agency. I won't go through that one in depth. It's very similar to the ones that we just went through, mostly just changing it for clarity and understanding. So I won't go through all of that one. The marketing agreement modification will be the next one. That's this one. So this one, we did make some changes to this one. This is to change your exclusive right to sale or your exclusive agency marketing agreement. And mostly it's just, we changed the title for clarity. Paragraph 3 was modified to accommodate the changes in the private listing status in the MLS. In paragraph 4, to change compensation. Since we will not be able to display it in the MLS, this is how you would modify your changes to compensation. Now, here's the big one, exclusive buyer representation agreement. So as you see, the very first highlight is we're asking the buyer to confirm that they have not entered into any other exclusive representation agreement with any other brokerages. Paragraph 2, we removed the language which made the agreement irrevocable to comply with the practice changes. And we modified the mental handicap to mental disability. Paragraph 7, we changed this to also make aware that the buyer understands that compensation is not set by law and that it is fully negotiable. We removed the language throughout the paragraph, which previously allowed the brokerage to receive more compensation that was agreed to in the representation agreement. We added the language to ensure that the designated agent is taking reasonable steps to determine what, if any, compensation is being offered by the seller or the seller's brokerage. We added language to allow for negotiation between the buyer and brokerage for any amount collected from seller or seller's brokerage which does not satisfy the amount of compensation agreed upon within the agreement or allows the buyer to pay the brokerage upon closing. I know that was a lot, but what that one says, we added the language, if there is an offer of compensation, the buyer can still make an offer asking the seller or the brokerage to meet their buyer representation compensation. If it's less, they can still make an offer to ask. So we're making it clear that that is an option in this representation agreement, and we're making it clear that we will do everything that we can to secure the compensation from the selling side, the seller's side. And if not, that the buyer will be able to make that additional payment at the closing. All right. Paragraph 9, again, we just making sure that they understand that even though we have exclusive representation with other sellers and buyers, that we will still have to have that written agreement, even though we're working with them too. Paragraph 13, we added to be consistent with other exclusive representation agreements, ensuring the buyer understands that electronic or facsimile signatures are accepted as original signatures and that the buyer understands they may receive a copy of the agreement. Paragraph 19 was the severability, which we added that to make sure that the buyer understands that if any portion of the agreement is unenforceable, that the agreement will continue in effect without that provision. 21, we amended that both parties must agree to terminate the agreement. And lines 181 and 182 were added to include any attachments to the agreement if applicable. And that we will talk about those new forms that we have created that you'll be able to add to this agreement. The non-exclusive, basically, it's the same thing. I won't go through that one in depth, but it's just basically the same as our exclusive representation agreement, only it is non-exclusive, which gives a buyer the ability to work with more than one agent. All right, this is the buyer representation modification agreement. So this form is provided to assist in modifying the exclusive buyer representation agreement or the non-exclusive buyer representation agreement. The title was changed for clarity. The term exclusive was removed throughout, allowing the form to be used to modify either the exclusive or the non-exclusive agreements. And then the additional print and signature line was added to allow for more than one buyer to sign the form. Okay, I don't know if it froze. Okay, then. Now this one is the new form. So this is an addendum to the 7.0 contract. This is a form that we created for you to ask the seller to pay your buyer's broker compensation. This form can be used in one of two ways. The first way is if you have reached out to the listing side and you were unable to determine whether or not cooperative compensation is being offered. You can use this form as an addendum to your contract where you are asking upfront for the seller to pay your buyer compensation, your buyer broker compensation. You can also use this form if you found that the compensation wasn't enough that was offered. You can use this form to ask that the seller pay the full compensation that's allowed in your buyer representation agreement. Now, this is a new form. This form will not be available until the 17th. I feel like it skipped. Did it skip? No, it didn't. Oh, the form is in there twice. All right, this is the other new form. This form is a notice of offer of compensation. Now, this form, under no circumstances can this form be uploaded to the MLS, okay? But this is the form that we created so that if you do have a seller and they're offering a co-op compensation and you want it to be known, you want to utilize this form in one of two ways. Well, there are many ways you can. You can email this form to anyone who's requested if there's compensation being offered. That's one way. Another way, you can have this form inside of your listing. It can be at the property. You can also text it. You can post it on your private website that does not link to the MLS. Right? Okay. So this one is for offers of compensation. I am a listing broker. I have a listing. My seller is offering cooperative compensation. I don't want to field a whole bunch of phone calls. So I'm going to put this inside of the listing. It'll be at the property. The buyer's broker can pick it up at the property, or they can see it and they know it, that it's there, and then they can use one of these next forms to confirm. Okay. Now this is a no agency form. I hope we never ever have to use this form. But in the event that we do need to use this form is used when you have a buyer and this buyer is declining any type of representation. So you're a listing agent, you're having an open house, a buyer comes through the door, you're not doing dual agency with them, the buyer does not have a realtor and says they don't want one. This form is what you will give to them, preferably have them sign it. You keep a copy and give them a copy so that you are protected in case they ever say that they think you're their agent or they think you're representing them. This form specifically goes over a lot of what you get with agency representation. So if you can see the form where it says that no agency, we're not helping you with your offer. We're not doing any negotiating for you. We're not educating you. We're not doing the CMAs. We're not advising you in any capacity. Basically, all we can do is take your name, information, and how much you're offering, put it on the contract, and submit it to the seller. That's it. Okay? This next form, this is the brokerage to brokerage compensation. So this is the form that you will use to create a contractual agreement for compensation between the two brokerages upon a successful real estate transaction. So we have cooperating compensation, it's been agreed upon, and now we want to solidify it and put it in writing so that we have no quarrels about it, and we can send it to the title company when it's time for us to get our check. Right? That's what this form does. And this next one is the referral agreement. This one, we just made some minor changes. Paragraph 9, it was reworded, but the intent remains the same. And paragraph 10 is new, and it requires that parties settle any dispute related to the referral pursuant to the NAR rules. Okay. So those are all the forms that Main Street has created or modified so that we're compliant with the NAR settlement. Now I am going to answer questions. So can you read the questions out for me, Gracie?
Yes.
Gracie?
So first question is, I believe that the option for net or gross will be removed. How will this be determined now?
So before, MRED determined what the net and the gross was, how it would be factored in, right?
Yes.
Gross, it was purchase price minus seller concessions. That's what net was before.
Mm-hmm.
Net will now be determined by negotiations. We have no way of, MRED can't tell you what net will be anymore. So we'd have to use our best judgment on that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense. That will to me. But and whoever well, she posted to everyone. This was from Shelia. So please feel free when she answers the question, you know, if you wanted to add more context to it to help explain it better. That way we make sure the question is answered. And if it's not answered, then it's something we can definitely take back for further discussions and get back to the group with an answer. Okay.
Anything that we can't answer today, I'll write down, and then we'll do a Q&A that we can send back if we need to send it back to the group.
Okay, and I'll send everything plus the resources and all that she mentioned. I'll send it all to everyone who's on here today and people who are registered too. Next question, will Main Street offer videos on how to complete the forms like some other forms on the website? So these new forms,
Yes.
are we going to have help on how to do that now?
Yes, so we already have a few tutorials up. So we have video tutorials up, and we also have just the commentary. I know I made a couple of videos as well, and basically explain to you how and when to use the forms. And then, of course, Lynn and Chris, they are doing the full tutorials. And we're only really focusing on the compensation piece for the most part. But yes, if you go to the Succeed with More and you go to your contracts and forms section on your Succeed with More, you will be able to see all of the new forms along with videos either discussing what the form is and or how to fill them out.
Okay, thank you. Oh, this is back to the first question, please. Clarification.
Okay.
When you talked about the net and the gross, I believe. Now, the follow-up question is, so since that is a conversation between the realtor and the seller, how do we document this? What the net and the gross would be? Or
So we're going to have more addendums. Unfortunately, it's going to be a thing. So while we're negotiating our compensation, if we're negotiating compensation, right? Because they're going to say, I'm offering you X minus Y as your compensation. And then you're going to say, is this based off of gross or net? And then you're going to say, if they say it's net, hopefully we get away from this whole net thing anyway. But if they say it's based on net, then you'll ask them what determines your net. I believe that for most of us, we will continue to identify net the same way we were before. Purchase price minus seller's concessions. That is what I believe we will do, but it's fully negotiable. So another brokerage might say they want to exclude some other things from the net.
okay. All right, thank you for that. Next question from Latasha asks, the bottom of the compensation form mentions leasing. I thought leases do not have to get a renter to sign any disclosure about commission.
So it is not mandatory for leasing. Leasing does not require a mandatory written agreement, right? They were not included in the settlement. However, we've already had representation agreement for tenants as well. So the forms are inclusive so that if you do have that agreement, you will know, because again, compensation will not be in the MLS at all, period. So that means not even for rentals.
Okay. Thank you. Question from Brother Ron. Are these common forms that can be titled for other real estate agent professional organizations?
No.
Thank you.
These forms are, the ones that I went over today are Main Street forms. If your association does not have their own forms, or if they wish to purchase the forms from Main Street, they can reach out to Kate Sachs at Main Street, and then she will give them the information as to how to acquire the forms.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't see any other questions in here. If anybody had a question, please raise your hand. But I did have a question, as you were saying, because I know you said nothing about the listing or compensation, nothing there should be in the MLS at all. Right?
At all.
However, you also said, for a listing agent who's like, okay, I don't want to keep having conversations about what my compensation is, I'm going to fill out that form. And then you said, put this inside of your listing.
Right.
How, like, practically? Because when I'm thinking put this inside of your listing, I'm like, wait, that is compensation being talked about in the listing, and the listing is on the MLS.
No, inside of the property, the listed property.
So put this physical paper in the property.
Correct.
Got you. So not inside.
Nowhere near the MLS. Don't put it anywhere where it touches the MLS, but put it inside of the property, email it. Most of us do reverse prospecting anyway. So if you know someone's interested in your listing, email it to them. Let them know, hey, up front, this is what we're offering.
Okay. Can you say, for additional information regarding blah, blah, blah?
No.
Can't say that. Can't say anything. We don't do anything. We're just showing this house. That's it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to make
and if I wasn't clear, please do not ever in life again say our services are free unless we're actually working for free, which I don't think any of us are going to do that.
No. Okay. So I think that is all of that, which is perfect timing anyway, but
Okay, somebody also, Lanzetta said, what about bonuses?
oh, I'm sorry, Lonzette, I did miss that. I thought I read that. Yes.
Lanzetta said, what about bonuses? So if there's bonuses being offered, now just keep in mind that bonuses are part of your total compensation. So if you have an agreement with your buyer for X amount and there's a offer of compensation and a bonus, and the bonus takes you over X amount, you cannot accept the bonus. Okay. And no workarounds, right? We don't want to see people setting their expectation of their buyer representation agreement compensation up front and then find out that there's an offer for more and then go circle back and have your buyer sign a new representation agreement so that you can get the higher amount. That's considered a workaround. NAR said, no, we're not doing that.
Okay. So
put your highest and best up first. Whatever you are worth, your highest worth, put that up because you can go down in your representation agreement. You just cannot go up.
okay, thank you for that. I was going to confirm that. So we can start high and say, okay, this is it. But then as the deal progresses, say, you know what, I'm going to give this buyer a break because I've seen a lot of realtors do that. Like, I'm going to put this amount towards my commission to allow the deal to close. Now, realtors are able to do that.
You are able to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Wait. What is the best way? Oh, what is the best way to present the offer? Should you make it more? I think this is.
What is the best way to present the offer? Should you make it more? Okay, Kanisha, can you elaborate?
I'm sorry, because you really had just answered my question when you followed up. So never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Like, let's start high, because if we know we can't go higher than that, then of course you can always renegotiate and go lower. You know, the only thing I'm seeing with that is probably maybe too high might affect the buyers.
It might affect the buyer.
So, but we'll talk about that and kind of how to structure those deals as well. But always start high, so that way at least you're not leaving money on the table if the seller is offering it in whatever situation.
And someone says, I'm hearing brokerages stating to do a wraparound to go up. And I'm just gonna say absolutely not. You know, I've heard it too, and it's gotten around, and NAR has heard it as well. There are gonna be some really strict penalties for this circumventing the settlement. And there's like, and I'll let Grace can elaborate on this, but keep in mind that what we do as professionals could affect the ability for the settlement to get final approval, right? If DOJ feels like, hey, these realtors are out here, they're saying they're going to do these things, but look at them, they're still out here running amok. The DOJ could literally say, no, you know what, we're not going to do it. We're not going to accept this. We're going to end cooperation compensation altogether because they still don't know how to act. So we don't want that to happen. So we don't want to go and try to navigate around the settlement. Let's just adhere to the settlement. It's a right way to do it. It's not very hard. Know your value and get what your value, get your worth from your buyer.
Can you explain what that wraparound means, especially because I know there are a few people here who are like brand new realtors. Like, what is a wraparound?
So that's like the same, like we were saying, like you already have an agreement and you want to go up. Don't go back to your buyer and say, buyer, they're offering me more, so I'm going to redo our buyer representation agreement because the seller's offering me more money. It's not going to work.
Okay, thank you. And then final questions, let me see. Okay, yeah, she asked about the wrap. I didn't even see that. Thank you. Yeah. What about with new construction? They offer a lot of bonuses.
So again, the bonuses are gonna be the same. It doesn't matter. If your clients, if you've already agreed upon an amount with your clients, then that's the route that you're gonna take, right? You can't take more than that. I personally would say buyer's representation agreements, you can have more than one exclusive buyer representation agreement with your client. So I can have an exclusive buyer representation agreement to look at already constructed homes, and this is going to be what I will get if we buy a already constructed home. Here's a separate representation agreement that we'll do for new construction, knowing that new construction often comes with bonuses. So here's what it would be if we did a new construction home.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next question, and this will be the final question because we're bleeding into
Yeah.
the next segment. This Latasha asks, can the buyer can go to their lender to include the buyer's commission in the closing costs as before, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So I think right now even if the buyer has to pay the compensation, and let's make sure we're using the word compensation again, so instead of commission, we're changing that. So the compensation can be added to the buyer's closing costs. Right now, they still can't be included in the loan.
Okay. And another conversation about that, actually, we had a meeting, like realtors attorneys meeting, and one thing I thought was really interesting, because in this whole process of the NAR settlement, for some reason, didn't really look at that side, because now it's affecting so many people. Buyer's agent will now, moving forward, actually have to disclose the compensations to the lender. So before, I didn't care about, as a real estate attorney, I didn't care about what your commission was. This is something that came out at the end because we know the money is already there for it. But now moving forward, if you were to enter into a contract where the seller, well, not even because the pre-approval has to even happen before. So the pre-approval happens before we get the contract, and hopefully we can go back and change it once we get that the seller's paying, it's given, compensation to the buyer's agent. But now the lenders are saying, or which makes sense though, they now have to be involved in the buyer compensation. So you would now, as a buyer agent, disclose your compensation to the lender, because even though, and they've confirmed that this will not be factored into that, the seller concession, the interested party contribution that we always
Right.
look at, where we're trying to determine if the buyer can get 3%, it's like from 3% to 9%, how much seller credits they can get. Even though the commission would not be factored into this number, the commission, however, does also affects the buyer's pre-approval, because it's not part of the credit, but it's still part of the closing costs. And the lender has to make sure that the buyer has this money set aside before they're pre-approved. So just as agent, that was one thing that really stood out for me, like, oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but I think if we're transparent, which is
transparent.
why we're doing this, if we're transparent, everybody can make things work. We can make it work. We just have to work together. And that's why teamwork is so important when we're doing with these transactions.
Yes. And that transparency, and I'm just putting this out to say, when you hear the attorneys say, hey, I need to see your, agreement, or the lender saying, I need to, don't get defensive, because now even the lenders are like, oh God, I don't want to get involved in the agent's number, because now technically there's a conflict of interest too, because the lender, if I were a lender and I'm like, okay, your agent is 2.5, but dang, client, if your agent was only taking 2, you would have made it. So that kind of puts them in a tight spot.
That part.
Yes. So just know nobody's trying to count your money. And I guess if I'm the lender, I would kind of reach out to you first as the agent, like, hey, look, this is kind of where we are. What are you thinking? But just moving forward, that's one of the key light bulb moments that I had this week.
Yeah.
Okay. So any last words, Kenya? Well, we'll do last.
Now, the only last words I can say is that, this process is going to be education for all of us. As the realtor parties, being the most affected professional, we'll have to educate not only our clients, and it's not only our buyers, we have to educate the sellers on the importance of the seller being able to contribute to the buyer's closing. by paying the broker, so that we get the deal done. We're gonna have to educate the lender, and we're gonna have to educate the title companies, because the title companies are only used to getting one commission statement. Now they're gonna get two. It's gonna be different. It's gonna look different. We'll be having these educational conversations with all of the other professionals as well as our clients. So we just need to be ready and able to have that communication effectively.
Yes, and sorry, just to add to that too, because as you're saying, I'm thinking of something else too. Make sure, because I've worked with a lot of lenders, a lot of buyers come in and they have lenders who are not familiar with Illinois practice, and they're asking for things, and I'm like, dude, this is not how it works. Like, I literally have to tell them how to do things. So please, as the agent, always make sure you're letting these lenders know. And hopefully this is a national practice, but there's some things that are national that some lenders are still clueless about. Let them know that, hey, seller credits, it's different from my compensation, because that way, because what happens usually when we get to closing, if the agent doesn't check, you don't check to see your commission is there, they literally just cross it out because they're like, oh no, this is too much. You're cut off. You don't get a check. And then somehow, it's not. Thankfully never happened, because I always send the agents a commission statement, check your money, because once it's gone, we can't get it. But make sure you are checking that final settlement statement before
Yes.
closing, before funding, to make sure that your money is there. Okay.
Yes. And I would say get in the practice of having your commission statement ready before you get to the closing. Because if you have the commission statement ready, you can provide that to the lender.
Have the commission statement ready. Also double check the number that translates
Yeah.
into the settlement statement as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, there's some questions here. We have Makeda. Makeda, can we take 2 more questions, please? All right. Let me see. Can they ask to see the entire agreement, or can they ask to see what amount it is? I think right now I would say the amount.
The amount.
Yeah, that's really the factor that counts. So that's what I would
Yeah.
say. So should the agent send the compensation statement to the lender and the attorney? I, as the attorney, don't really care, but yeah, just send it to us. That's fine. You can do that. Just to get that out of the way. But probably the lender will still ask for it over and over again. Did you say the buyer's agent's commission can't be included in the loan amount? You said no. I would say it depends. It depends, because you also know that there's the appraisal contingency there. So if property price is 200 and you're increasing adding your commission 205 to make it a 205 purchase price, if the property does not appraise for that 205 or higher, that number could change. So I think from what I've seen so far, I've seen agents do that and it's done, but it's also contingent on how much cushion the appraisal of the property can handle. Right. That's what I think.
Right. And it's also about the other concessions that they receive.
There you go.
So as long as they're not receiving too many concessions, then I'm under the mindset, right? My mind works different, I guess. But in my mind, it's already included in the loan amount, because the purchase price everybody gets paid from the sale of the home that the buyer is borrowing the money. I mean, just make it make sense.
It is already included, if the seller knows that and goes ahead and gives it. But then now if it's included and the seller does not offer it, then that's kind of like a double payment. Yes. Okay.
That's it.
That's a thumbs up. Okay. Right. Not a hand. All right. That's it. Thank you so much. And feel free to email me. I think I put my information. I don't know if you can see this, but you have my email, you have my Instagram. So text me, email me if you have any additional questions, and maybe we can put together an FAQ in addition to all the resources that Kenya has presented here, and just have an ongoing conversation of what's going on. So she said, I send the compensation to just the lender. Yes, send it to everyone. Just to save yourself the stress and make sure they know that you got to get paid. All right. So thank you so much, Kenya, for those practical tips. Thank you for engaging in this discussion, because this has definitely, hopefully, answered a lot of questions. And like we said, please bring in some more questions and we will, I'm available to my agents. I talk to agents all the time on how to structure deals, how to negotiate stuff, even before the contract, even before, the property is listed or we make the offers. So feel free to reach out to me if you need to, and we'll work through that. All right, so next up we have the one, the only Makeda Smith, CEO of Savvy Chicks in real estate. And most of you, I don't know, some of you that don't know her, Makeda Smith used to be a realtor. She was, she was one of the baddest real estate agents from back in the days. And she's, that's what I'm going to say. She has worked with every realtor's, she's the marketing, I call her the marketing goat. That's a new name. She knows how to make money. She knows how to put your brand out there. She is, schooled in all of that. And over the course of years, her practice has transitioned from assisting realtors, which she still does locally, and now she's doing it more on a global scale. And what I love about what Makeda is doing is she is actually opening our eyes to opportunities that are out there where we can actually make some more money even while we're in here. So not necessarily have to go overseas and live overseas. And most of you all know I love to travel. So traveling with Makeda and looking at the world from a real estate perspective has definitely opened my eyes. From a real estate standpoint, real estate agent standpoint, even as a lawyer, because one of the things I learned is like, wow, overseas, the attorney fees are a percentage of the price. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to be an international lawyer so I can get those percentage fees, because that's extra change. And I don't even have to physically be there. So yes, that's why I wanted Makeda to come in here to kind of talk to us again about, or some more people here, introduce herself, tell us more about how we can take our brand global, because even the global movement also gives you credibility locally. So how to do that, and then tools and, suggestions and everything she has for that. So without further ado, Makeda, over to you.
Okay, I am going to make it as quick as possible because Grace was like, you got 25 minutes. I'm like, what? I'm gonna talk about it 25 minutes. But for Kenya, you did a beautiful job. Thank you for explaining that, because I kind of like have been tuned out to all of the noise and everybody saying everything about what's going on. So to be able to sit down, listen to what's happening, the changes that are being made, and literally us just using the form, I think the transparency in the industry is going to be great. Grace made a mention that I used to be a realtor. You are dead on, Grace. I'm still a licensed agent in the state of Illinois. I have been licensed since 2004. Right here, I just maintain my license every single year. So I'm still taking the continuing education and making sure that I keep up. But for myself, I have decided to hang my license at EXP. And the reason why is because EXP right now is in 24 countries. And so I was like, how can I align myself with one company that is global and everywhere? And so it fits my brand, but they allowed me to be able to hang my license domestically at their brokerage, and I don't have to pay any type of association dues or anything like that, because I don't do business here in the United States. I do it abroad. And so you ladies and gentlemen are my referral base. I typically give any referrals that come my way domestically to those that are in our network. And then if no one can handle that, then I will branch outside. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to take you through like what my international journey has been and like what yours could look like as well. And I'll be really quick about it. And so I want to start off by talking about how you can sell real estate abroad without a license in this. Oh, I took this a bit from my last one. So without a license. So how you can sell real estate abroad without even having a license, because in a lot of countries, you do not need a license in order to sell real estate. Does that mean that it's the wild, wild west for us to be able to go out and do whatever we want? No, I have taken my years of training with the associations. I have taken it abroad, the ethics training, taking it abroad. Y'all know we have the sexual harassment, training, taking that abroad, and all of the trainings, including the agency training and how we work with clients, taking that to other countries where they don't have the associations in most of the countries, but in some of them, they do have their own. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk a minute about how I've been in business for 20 years. I started as a real estate agent when my husband said that I would make for a great real estate agent. I didn't believe it or trust it, but here I am 20 years later, still a real estate agent. So I started in 2004, and in 2017, y'all, I started Savvy Chicks in Real Estate. And so basically with Savvy Chicks in Real Estate, we are actually now a global real estate network. I'll take you over the journey of how we got there. But my first, I'm going to go here. We've been on all of these different publications, media, but my very first publication and having my name in a magazine was the Chicago Association of Realtors in year 2008, 2009, no, 9, 10, and 11. Because what happened for me is that I went to a conference and I learned how to become an REO agent, because I was basically tired, y'all, of going from one client to the next client to the next client. And I was like, how can I get a bulk of listings at one time? So it's always about how can I multiply this so I can get more at one time. And getting with an REO company, Freddie Mac was my first one. They gave me 50 listings. Yes, I was shocked myself, but I was like, okay, how do I handle this? And so God gave me the grace to be able to handle those 50 listings. My husband then got his license in 2008 to be able to help me with the load. And that's where we both became top producers. We both made 6 figures in 1 year each, selling over 50 properties in just 1 year. And so I have now catapulted to where Savvy Chicks in Real Estate was launched in 2017. And now we help agents, investors to travel and sell all over the world. And so I'm going to just ask you to shift your mindset about how we have done real estate for a century now. And typically in 2023, this is what you look like what we look like when it came to doing business. It's one country where you sell real estate, whether you are an agent in United States, an agent in South Africa or Greece, you sell in one country. And if your country is broken up into states, you sell in one state. And then in particular cities, because we don't cover the entire state. And so what cities do you cover within that particular state? And then we just rinse and repeat, and we stay in that same area. And so this is typically what real estate looks like in our country, because we have 50 states. And so every state requires you to get a license. However, some states have reciprocity to where you don't only have to do a few things, and other states, they don't have it. So you have to go through all of the training, taking the test, and then passing, getting a license, joining the boards, and all of the things, right? And so I really should have a calculator of like how much all of this stuff costs from state to state and add up when it comes. Because my husband, he maintains his realtor association. And so he told me, baby, they just sent me a bill for $1,500. I was like, oh, I thought you had to pay it in September. And I was like, it is September. And so that's how much, dues cost to be a part. And so now, this going back here, selling real estate in 2023 and what it looks like in 2024 for us, real estate is no longer local, but it is global. It is a global economy. And I said, pretty soon I'm going to start sticking S all over the world for Savvy Chicks in Real Estate, and where we have touched down and have taken our brand to. And so right now, I'll just go scroll, because we had I'll start here. Dubai is next month. We went there last year, but I want to start here with like, how did I get started? And Grace, let me know about time. Keep me on time.
Hey guys, I am so excited to be in Washington, D.C. with WUSA 9 on Great Day, Washington, to talk about our global initiative and how we are taking our real estate business international, beyond the U.S., and how you can do it too. Stay tuned.
In order to start building your business in a global territory, you want to know where it is that you want to go as a business owner before you can go into another country and start building. And so the build process is finding out what is the culture, what are the laws, what are the requirements within that country before you step foot in that territory.
Okay, and so that was January of 2023. And then from there in April, just 3 months later from that national interview, I was in Bali with about 16 women. Y'all see Grace right here. She was the first person to book for our retreats that we started in 2023. And so then a few months later, we were in Bali with about 75 people. We had a real estate conference. A few months later, in September of 2023, we had 16 people. And I think Sanina is on here. So y'all see Madam President right here. Sanina, she accompanied us as well. Well, LaShonda, I think I seen her name on here, along with other agents and people that were not agents that just wanted to take this trip to Egypt and to Dubai. And so fast forward, in December of last year, we went to Ghana and we had a real estate property tour. We took about 18 people with us. Most of them are real estate agents as well. I'm going to just play what that looks like.
So get paid, all the right. Then take me to Tiffany, I'm gonna put carrots on my thing. I'm broke, pink diamonds on my belly chain and my nipple ring. I'm bringing queen, sideways on this candy. I'm saving in money, so now we gonna ball out. Catch me last and chicken ground with until I fall out. They all let me go out the house.
I'm not gonna play it all, but that you can clearly tell that we are out here in these real estate international streets selling real estate. And so this is where we were in Ghana in February of last year. We took another group of all these people are international sales agents, both licensed and unlicensed. And we actually went to meet with this developer in Ghana. And so we sell in Ghana. We also went to Greece in April. These are the ladies here, and this is what that real estate tour looked like.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we.
Okay, so I won't continue to play that, but I want to get to this one. Dominican Republic, we were there in June, and this looks a whole lot different because we have lots of beaches and water. And here we were at a day beach club, and the ladies were seeing what their clients could have access to, and then if you were selling in this particular community, what the amenities would look like. And so, you know, you can see smiles on everybody's faces as we're going through, like taking pictures. And so what my company now, going from, you know, being a realtor 20 years, we launched Savvy Chicks in Real Estate. I'm right now with EXP under a Global Kingdom Movement. That's our organization, but we have a membership program. And with that membership program, it allows us to be able to travel and be able to help the agents to sell international real estate. And so our trips that we have coming up, we have Kenya and Ghana. That's the final one for this year. Zanzibar, Tanzania will be the only retreat that we take next year, but it's still exposing. And so what is the benefit of you becoming an international real estate agent? You get to expand your market beyond the US. You also get to increase your income potential. So let me just break that down really quick. And so I explained to an agent the other day, we were at her photo shoot, and she was like, I want to start selling in Dubai. What does that look like? And so I was explaining to her what that looks like, that you can either work not having a license or work having a license. It just depends on how you want to work and who you want to work with, to where you can earn anywhere from 2% commission to a 7% commission, depending on what the developer is offering at that time. And so I was telling her about a deal in the Dominican Republic, and how she was like, well, you selling in the Dominican Republic, those properties don't cost that much. And I was like, they have $1 million properties in the Dominican Republic. They have properties that are 300, 400. It just depends on what your client is into. Because a lot of people think Dominican Republic, okay, I'm going to get something by the beach for 50,000 or 65,000. Those days are pretty much over. And so you're going to spend, you know, over 100,000. And so I was telling her that, you know, there's a client that purchased a property that was 124,000. And if the developer, which they are, is paying 6%, then that's an $8,000 commission on a $124,000 property. And she was like, oh my God, wait a minute. So now it began to make her rethink international real estate based on the potential of how much money that she will be able to bring in. And so this is what I'm trying to spread around to realtors that are here, that you can actually make more money in some of these other countries and sell less when it comes to international real estate. And so why not add that to your existing portfolio? You get to have a diverse client base. I looked up last night some stats for NAR. And on NAR, they talked about here in the United States how there's top 5 countries. I think India, there was China. I can't think of the other 3 off the top of my head, but you should also be pulling in, and your marketing should be drawing people that are foreign buyers that are buying in this country as a part of your marketing strategy, in addition to making sure that you take those same buyers and say, hey, I now have international opportunities for you to buy in places like Dominican Republic, Ghana, Mexico. People are buying all over the world. But if you don't give them the opportunity to know that these things exist, they would not know that. And me being in the business for 20 years, what does it look like taking my entire portfolio of clients over 20 years being in the business and say, hey, now I have another opportunity outside of the United States where you can invest, and this is what it looks like. And those clients now start to come on board. So that's a diverse client base. You have a different industry that you're able to tap into and then learn how do you conduct real estate. And it's been pretty fun learning new real estate laws in other countries. Global network. Now I get to network with attorneys that are in Ghana. I get to network with lenders that are in Ghana, in Dominican Republic, and other places as well. And then being able, like Grace talked about the culture aspect, and when she began to travel with us, she was beginning to learn, oh, wait a minute, this is how the other side of the world looks like, and this is what it is. And this is why when we go travel, we make sure that we participate in all things cultural, and making sure we also have the excursion in addition to the business, in addition to the real estate opportunities. And so those are just some of the things. And then you get to network and meet the developers on the ground and get to stand in front of their properties so that you can bring that information back to your clients and feel comfortable. When I started as a real estate agent, and this is what all agents say, well, how am I going to get my clients? Like, we all had to start from 0 deals in this real estate industry and work our way up. So the same thing that it took to be able to get your footing here domestically, it's the same thing it's going to take in order to be able to soar in the international real estate streets. You start with 1 client. And once you get your 1 client, you're going to duplicate that process, and then you're going to soar. And so what I have done, based on the hardships that people have said, well, how can, I do this? And so we now help you to build internationally. And we created a membership group called the Promised Land International Society. Yes, it's taken from scripture, because God wants us to get outside of the promised land. Now, you may see EXP up there. So let me just bring that down. Bring that down. So you do not have to be a part of EXP in order to be a part of our membership group. It's just that it's free for those who are under our organization with EXP, but you can join the Promised Land. We have a lot of people that are in there that are not with that company. So if you are a broker owner, I'm going to broker owners saying, hey, you need to add an international real estate division to your brokerage, and let your agents be able to earn commission outside of the country as well, where they do not have all of these restrictions that we have here in the US. And so inside of the program, we give you a monthly marketing calendar. We give you marketing templates. We teach you master classes every single month. We have special guests that come in. We have a private Facebook community for support. We got your bonus templates. We got your checklist, your guides, your ebooks, because you need to generate leads. And so we give you those things in order to generate leads. We have monthly goal check-in and accountability, and you get to have access to the developers that we're marketing for that particular month, and international marketing material. And this is just one of our members, Sika, who is in Chicago. She talked about how everything changed for her once she joined the membership group. And this is what her old page looked like, but now this is what her new page looked like in terms of letting people know about the opportunities that are abroad and educating them. And she said it has been the best thing ever. So I'm going to walk you through what our monthly business toolkit looks like, and then open it up for any type of Q&A. So let me do that. And Grace, you can let me know if there are any questions, but I'm going to open up the business toolkit that they receive every single month. So if you are a member, you get a toolkit every month. It's going to have whatever month we're in. So this is the month of August. Every month we have a theme. So this month's theme is building a global legacy. This is what you're helping your clients to do. I not only want for people to just be posting, but I need people to have goals and to hit this goal. So it's building up your target audience, increasing your following across all platforms, increasing your database by 100. Because remember, I said we have freebies for you to put out there and say, hey, download this ebook. What does that do? Name, email addresses, phone numbers that are going into your database. We have goals to have people to reserve properties. And what that basically means is that it's like putting down earnest money. So it's a reservation. They put down 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, depending on the property. I want the agents to book 10 consultations per month, make 10 phone calls, 50 DMs, 50 texts, and then attend 5 networking events and tell people about the opportunity to buy international real estate. I also have a list of things for them to do. And then this is what our marketing calendar looks like starting with day 1. All they have to do is copy and paste. I make it so easy. Copy and paste this caption to your. So now the only thing I do ask the agents to do, please put double spaces in the caption and don't make it look like it's a copy and paste. That's all I ask. And so the calendar is chock full of content every single month. But what else is in here is that we host an investor call 2 to 3 times a month, and our agents invite their clients to the call. If they buy, they earn a commission. And so the commission is based on the developer, it's based on what you have worked out with your brokerage as well. And so you would click here to get the templates. I broke it up because I have these as story size. This is Instagram size. And then I break down what does the week look like in terms of our goals. And then what does the funnel look like? So if somebody downloaded your international real estate ebook and they got the email, the ebook is delivered. Now, what's the next steps for them to go to? And then I have them right here. This gives them access to all of our developers and the brochures, the marketing tools that they need in order to be able to explain something to their clients as well. And so as a bonus, only for this month, after this month, this is going away, you get our international marketing bundle kit, which by itself, this is $297, but you get it free inside of the membership when you join for the month of August. And so now, Grace, I am ready for the questions.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up for questions. I think the presentation is pretty straightforward. Like it's either you're going to do it and you're going to do it, because this is definitely golden. Thank you so much, Makeda, for presenting this. And I'm glad, most of the agents are able to see this, because I felt like it was something that even personally, and some of you know, I'm also a real estate agent, but I don't do that. I'm too busy being a lawyer. But just the global move is something that just allows you to grow your business and make more money in this street. I'm all about whatever we can do to make more money with less stress. I don't like stressful money. So what Makeda is presenting, one of the things she didn't talk about too was that, from part of what she was saying, what I got was that even all of this structure is helping you position yourself not only for your global clients, but also even your local clients, because you're following these steps that she's lined up. Makeda she's on point with the marketing. If you follow these steps, even in your practice, follow that with your local clients and your global clients, there's no question that you will definitely see results, and of course see more money in the bank. And this is great for everyone. And I even want to say personally, I do know some agents, and I would tell you, even as a real estate attorney, I have represented a lot of people who are overseas, they're global, and they have assets here in the US. So when you position yourself as a global agent, this is not only you now selling locally to the people who are here, taking them globally to buy their vacation homes or whatever, but also positions you as a what's it called? what is that word? As a person of, you know, like a spirit, like a person that knows the global market. So personally, I've seen agents where when overseas people are looking, and we know that the social media social proof is there when they see you, oh wow, this person knows my locality, like it's selling in Dubai and all of that. So when a person in Dubai sees you as that, if they're looking to invest in the US, guess who they're going to reach out first? They're going to reach out to you, because now they feel that you understand their country, you understand what's it called, and you know, the US market as a whole as well. So thank you so much, Makeda, for that. And wait, LaShonda was asking Makeda, are there separate agreements required to be put in place with the developers?
And so the answer is yes, per se. And what I mean by that is that it's different from developer to developer. So for some of the developers, no, because Savvy Chicks in Real Estate has the agreement to where we will pay out a referral fee. The answer is yes to some, like the developer that I am with in Dubai, like you have to sign up with them directly and then they would pay you directly. So it just depends on the developer in which you're working with. I do want to say something, Grace, because the objection that I get is that, Makeda, girl, I got to take care of my business right here in the US before I jump to international. And for some of you, international is the answer. And what I mean by that is that you have your business domestically, and you may be saying that, oh, I'm not seeing the sales that I used to. But what if you were to introduce international real estate to your audience and begin to see sales? And so don't deny your audience the international piece. If it's something you want to do, because some people don't want to do it at all, and that's fine. But don't deny yourself from doing it because you're saying you don't have sales in your business here. How are you going to get sales there? Because that may be the opportunity that you need in order for the floodgates to start.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Makeda. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging in here. We can actually be done early. Thank you again, Kenya, for your awesome presentation. I definitely know that I have learned more. And even as an attorney, I can better answer most of the questions that will come in before I have to dial a friend and call you for answers, or, you know, take it up. So thank you so much for your awesome presentation. Thank you so much, Makeda, for your presentation as well. I will send follow-up emails to everyone in here, and, you know, everyone who registered with the, I think I'll do the recording, and then all of the links, Makeda's contact information, I put it on there. And then I will also send Kenya's information. You can reach out to her. You can reach out to Main Street or your organizations for questions. You can also reach out to me, because, you know, this is what I do, for, you know, questions as we move into this field and we navigate these post-NAR settlement streets, like I like to call it. So feel free to call me. You all have my information. If you don't, I will send it again along. And I think we are all good. Any last words, closing remarks, Kenya, Makeda? Somebody wants to say something before I shut this down?
No, I don't have any closing remarks.
Okay.
I do have a closing remark. Let's not make more of this change than it needs to be. And let's not get caught up in what you hear. Stay out of that mastermind Facebook group, the messy stuff. Stay out of the messy stuff. It's only going to confuse. It's going to make your life harder. If you want to get to the real information, reach out to me, reach out to Main Street, reach out to CAR, reach out to NAR even. Just not the mastermind group, because they are not the answer.
And listen, that mastermind group, they are only selling their products. They are selling their products. They start the mess and then they sell their products in the comments. And the amount of agents that fall for it is just unbelievable.
Isn't it unbelievable? It's so weird.
I mean, and I agree with that. So if you have any questions, please call me. Go ahead and give me a call. I would rather we answer those questions than be representing you in front of the board. Okay. We don't want that.
Yeah. And a $2,500 fine for putting compensation in the MLS is crazy.
Wow.
Why would you give them $2,500 because you don't want to follow the rules? That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a personal liability as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Thank you everyone for hanging in here. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I plan to do more of this in the future, so look out for that. But I will see you guys shortly. See you later. Email you later. Thank you. Have an amazing rest of your day and a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you much for having us on here. This was a spectacular presentation. Appreciate it. Looking forward to other ones.
Thank you so much, Brother Ron. Thank you for coming too. Bye, everyone.